Last time, we met Maya Sinclair, 30 years old, warm eyes that took in everything and gave very little away. A woman who packed the lunches and managed the calendar and showed up to every dinner party as the gracious, quiet wife of Daniel Sinclair, while privately building a $6 million investment portfolio that nobody in her life knew existed. She had already made the decision. The folder on her laptop was already titled Next. The attorney was already on retainer. The call to Claire Osei had already been made. And then Sandra Cole sent a message that stopped everything. Maya, the preliminary background check on Daniel came back. You need to call me tonight. There's something here that changes the picture significantly. It's not just the affair. She had sat in her dark office for a long moment before turning on the light, and then she called. Before we go deeper into what Sandra found, take a second and hit that subscribe button, give this video a like, and let us know where you're watching from. Because Maya's story is just getting started, and I have a feeling the people watching this right now are exactly the people who need to see where it goes. Sandra Cole had been a family law attorney for 19 years. She had sat across from hundreds of women in the early stages of what would become the most defining legal and financial decision of their lives. She had learned over those 19 years to read the difference between a woman who was afraid and a woman who was ready. Maya Sinclair, Sandra had decided at their very first meeting, was ready in a way that was almost rare. But what Sandra had found in the background check required a conversation that even she had not fully anticipated. Maya, I need you to stay with me through this because there are several layers and they connect in a way that matters. I'm with you. The affair, we already knew about that. One individual, ongoing for approximately 14 months based on the message record you described. That is the personal piece and we'll address it in its proper place. But the background check flagged something that exists entirely separately from the personal situation. 18 months ago, Daniel filed an amendment to your joint household trust. A quiet amendment, 1 page. It reclassified a portion of assets that had previously been jointly held into a new entity, a holding company registered in Nevada called DRS Capital LLC. Maya was quiet. He moved assets. He reclassified them, which, depending on how the original trust was structured, may or may not have required your signature. Maya, did you sign anything related to the household trust in the last 2 years? Anything at all? Even something that felt like a formality? A pause. He had me sign something 14 months ago. He said it was a refinancing document, for the mortgage. Sandra's silence lasted 3 full seconds. I'm going to need you to try to remember everything you can about that document, because I think what you signed may not have been what he told you it was. She didn't sleep that night, not because she was falling apart. Maya Sinclair had done the falling apart privately, in small pieces, over the course of the past several months, as the picture of her marriage had slowly, irrevocably clarified itself. She had already grieved. Or she had grieved as much as she was going to allow herself to grieve before the work began. What kept her awake was not pain, it was precision. She lay in the dark, reconstructing every detail she could remember about the document she had signed 14 months ago. Daniel had brought it home on a Tuesday evening. He had been relaxed about it, almost casual, the way he was casual about things he didn't want scrutinized. He had placed it on the kitchen island beside her coffee and said the mortgage company needed updated signatures for the refinance they had discussed. She had been in the middle of 3 other things. She had asked if she needed to read the whole thing, and he had said no. It was standard. Just the signature pages. She had signed. She had trusted him. She was 30 years old, and she had trusted the wrong person, and she had known it for months, and she was not going to let that truth turn into shame because shame was not useful, and Maya had decided a long time ago that she would only carry what was useful. She got up at 4:30, made coffee, opened her laptop. She began to write down everything she remembered. Before we continue, I want to stop here for just a moment. Because what Maya is doing right now, at 4:30 in the morning, writing down everything she can remember while the person who deceived her sleeps in the next room, that takes a specific kind of strength that doesn't always get named. It's not dramatic. It doesn't look like strength from the outside. But it is. It absolutely is. If you've ever had to gather yourself in the quiet when everything around you was falling, tell me in the comments. I read every single one. The coffee with Claire Osei happened 2 days later at a small cafe across town. Far enough from the neighborhood that running into anyone they knew was unlikely. Close enough that Maya could get there and back before Daniel noticed she had been gone longer than a grocery run. Claire arrived first. She had a folder. Maya sat down, ordered nothing, and looked at Claire with the particular directness of someone who has decided that they are done with indirect conversations. "Tell me what you found." Claire opened the folder. "Sinclair Private Holdings has been operating for 3 years. You set it up well. Clean structure, proper filings, independently capitalized, no connection to any of Daniel's entities. From the outside, it's completely invisible to him." Claire paused. "But here's what I found when I started pulling on the thread of DRS Capital, the Nevada LLC your attorney flagged. Daniel has been running investment transactions through that entity for 18 months. Some of them are in markets that directly overlap with positions you hold." Maya's eyes sharpened. "He's in the same position?" "3 of them. And Maya, the entry timing on 2 of those positions suggests he may have had visibility into your research, not your accounts. I don't think he found the accounts, but your research, your notes, something." The cafe was quiet around them. Maya thought about her home office, the desk her parents had given her, the filing cabinet she always kept locked. Always. Except once, 8 months ago, when she had left in a hurry and come home to find the cabinet drawer not fully closed. She had assumed she had simply not pushed it all the way. She had not let herself think further about it because the alternative was something she hadn't been ready to face. She was ready now. "He went through my files," Maya said. It wasn't a question. Claire looked at her steadily. "I think it's possible." Sandra's office felt different the second time Maya walked into it. The first visit had been exploratory. 2 women taking the measure of each other, establishing trust, laying the first stones. This visit felt like the beginning of something that could not be undone, and Maya understood that. She had chosen it with full clarity. Sandra had spent the 2 days since their call pulling every document connected to the household trust, the mortgage refinance, and the Nevada LLC. She had brought in a forensic accountant named James Whitfield, who had spent 20 years unwinding financial structures in high-conflict divorce cases, and who had, by the time Maya arrived, already identified 3 significant problems with what Daniel had done. "Here is what we know," Sandra said, laying documents flat on the table between them. "The document you signed 14 months ago was not a standard mortgage refinance signature page. It contained an amendment clause, buried on page 7 of a 12-page document, that effectively authorized the reclassification of jointly held investment assets into DRS Capital LLC. In plain terms, Maya, you signed something that gave Daniel the legal cover to move marital assets into an entity he controls exclusively." Maya sat with that for a moment. "How much?" "In total value at the time of transfer, approximately $400,000 in jointly held investment accounts. And now?" James Whitfield cleared his throat. "With the positions he's taken since, including the 3 that overlap with your research, the current value of the DRS Capital Holdings is closer to $900,000. Maya looked at the table. Then she looked up at Sandra. "He used my research to grow assets he stole from our joint accounts." Sandra's voice was very even. "That appears to be what happened, yes. Here is what I want you to understand about Maya Sinclair in this moment. She was 30 years old. She was sitting in an attorney's office looking at evidence that the man she had built a life with had deceived her in more ways than she had fully known. He had been unfaithful. He had manipulated a legal document to move marital assets without her true understanding or consent. He had likely gone through her private files and used her own research she had spent years developing, to grow money that he had quietly redirected away from her. And she was not falling apart. She was filing it, organizing it, placing it carefully into the part of her mind where strategy lived, where it could be used, where it could become something other than a wound. That is the thing about Maya that nobody in her life had ever taken the time to understand. Her patience was not passivity. Her quiet was not weakness. She had learned from years of being overlooked that the most powerful position in any room is the one nobody is watching. And nobody had been watching Maya Sinclair for a very long time. Daniel, meanwhile, was having a good week. He had closed a deal that afternoon and come home in the expansive, generous mood that certain successes produced in him. The mood where he was briefly aware of the people around him, briefly interested in the life outside his own head. He brought home wine. He asked Maya about her day in the vague, performative way of someone who expects the answer to be fine and is already thinking about something else. "Good," Maya said. "Quiet." "Good." He poured himself a glass. "Hey, I was thinking we should do something this weekend. Maybe drive out to the lake house. Just us." Maya looked at him across the kitchen island. The man who had slept beside her for 4 years. The man she had trusted with a signature she should never have given without reading. The man who was standing in her kitchen suggesting a romantic weekend while carrying a secret she now understood was larger than she had initially known. "Sure," she said. "That sounds nice." She smiled, the composed, unreadable smile. And Daniel, who had never once taken the time to understand what that smile meant, smiled back and refilled his glass. That night, after Daniel was asleep, Maya sent 3 messages. The first was to Sandra. "I want to move forward. All of it. Tell me the timeline." The second was to Claire. "I need to know every position in DRS Capital, and I need to know if there are others I haven't found yet." The third message was to a number she had saved 3 weeks ago and had not yet used. A woman named Priya Anand, a forensic digital investigator recommended by Sandra for cases involving potential document manipulation and unauthorized file access. The message read, "My name is Maya Sinclair. Sandra Cole referred me. I believe someone accessed my private files without my knowledge. I need to know what they found and how to prove it. Can we meet?" She sent the 3 messages. She closed her phone. She looked at the ceiling of her home office for a long moment. She was 30 years old, and she was at the beginning of something that was going to require everything she had built. Every year of quiet discipline, every careful decision, every morning she had gotten up before anyone else and worked in the silence because the silence was hers. She was ready for it. But what came next, what Priya Anand was going to find when she began her investigation, was something Maya had not fully prepared for. Not because she wasn't capable of handling it, but because some truths, when they finally surface completely, have a size that surprises even the people who suspected them. The reply from Priya came the next morning at 6:47. Maya read it at her desk, coffee in hand, in the quiet hour before Daniel woke up. It was 3 sentences long. "Sandra has briefed me on the situation. I've already run a preliminary search on your name and the entities involved. Maya, before we meet, I need you to know that what I've found in the first hour of looking suggests this goes significantly deeper than a single document and 3 overlapping investment positions. When can you come in?" Maya set her coffee down. She read it again. Deeper. She had built herself ready for what she knew. She had spent years preparing for the version of this she could see. But what was waiting in Priya Anand's office was a version she hadn't seen yet, and it was bigger. That is the end of part 2 of They Thought She Was Just a Housewife, until her fortune was revealed. And I need you to sit with that for a second. Because Maya walked into this week knowing about an affair and a suspicious document. She is walking out of it knowing that the man she married may have been running a deception that goes deeper than either of those things. And she is 30 years old. She is handling this with a steadiness that most people twice her age wouldn't be able to find. If this story is moving you, if Maya feels real to you, if her strength feels like something you recognize, drop a comment below and tell me. Tell me what you think Priya found. Tell me what part of this episode hit you the hardest. I want to hear from you. Like this video. Subscribe to Underestimated Saga so part 3 finds you the moment it drops. And share this with someone who needs to see what it looks like when a woman who has been underestimated finally decides that enough is enough. Part 3 is coming. And what Priya found in that first hour of looking? It changes the entire story.